Would you dare spend a night in this haunted villa? Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. The brochure called it a rustic retreat, a perfect escape nestled in the heart of Maine's sprawling forests. I'd pictured a week of disconnection for my family, a chance to reconnect with each other. My wife Sarah was thrilled, and our daughters Maya and Lily were buzzing with excitement. But as we turned off the main highway onto that winding, unpaved road, the trees closing in like a tunnel, my optimism began to curdle into a quiet dread. When the villa finally emerged from the woods, it looked less like a retreat and more like a relic the forest had tried and failed to swallow whole. The air was still, unnaturally so. No birds, no rustling leaves. As I stepped out of the car, a chill snaked up my spine, a primal warning that we were intruders here, that the very walls of this place were holding their breath, watching us. Inside, the daylight did its best to chase the shadows away. Sarah pointed out the charming stone fireplace, and the girls immediately claimed their rooms, their laughter echoing briefly in the cavernous space. For a few hours, we played the part of a happy family on vacation, exploring dusty rooms filled with antique furniture and portraits of stern-faced strangers. But the unease lingered. Lily, my youngest, came to me and whispered that she'd made a new friend who lived in the walls. I dismissed it as fantasy. Then Maya complained of a strange, cloying smell in her closet, like damp earth and something rotten. I told myself it was just an old house settling, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the house was settling around. The transition from day to night was unnervingly swift. The sun didn't set. It was devoured by the tree line, plunging the villa into a deep, inky blackness. The temperature plummeted, and the air grew thick and heavy, pressing in on us. The cozy charm of the afternoon evaporated, replaced by a cold, ominous presence. Dinner was a quiet affair, the silence in the house so absolute it felt like a physical weight. Every scrape of a fork on a plate was an explosion. We retreated to our rooms early, the unspoken tension hanging between us. Sleep didn't come easily. I lay there for hours, listening, and then I heard it. A slow, dragging footstep from the floor above. It wasn't a person walking. It was heavy, deliberate, filled with a chilling malevolence. My blood ran cold. Sarah was fast asleep beside me, her breathing soft and even. I crept out of bed and checked the girls' room. Both Maya and Lily were sound asleep. We were the only ones on the second floor. The footsteps had stopped. The silence that returned was somehow worse. Armed with the flashlight from my phone, I knew I had to find the source. I couldn't let my family sleep in a house where something was so terribly wrong. I followed the memory of the sound to a small, locked door at the end of the hallway I hadn't noticed before. The key was in the lock, cold to the touch. It opened into a dusty, forgotten attic room. The air was stale and frigid. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, landing on the floor. And there, gouged into the ancient wooden floorboards, were fresh scratches. Splinters of wood lay scattered around them, as if they'd been carved only moments before with frantic, desperate force. They weren't random marks. They formed two words, a stark, terrifying command: leave now. The initial unease soon festered into outright terror. It began with the shadows. They no longer clung to corners but detached themselves from the furniture, stretching and coalescing in the periphery of my vision. I'd see them move with a fluid, unnatural grace, twisting into vaguely humanoid shapes that defied the logic of light and space before dissolving back into nothingness. Then came the faces. While looking in the bathroom mirror one morning, a face flickered into view behind my own reflection. It wasn't just a glimpse. For a full, heart-stopping second, I saw a man with pale, waxy skin and hollowed-out eyes, his mouth open in a silent, agonized scream. The moment I flinched, he was gone, leaving me to stare at my own terrified face, my sanity fraying at the edges. My wife, Elena, became a ghost in her own home, haunted by a different specter. She began seeing a woman, always at the far end of the upstairs hallway, silently weeping. She described her in chilling detail: a tattered, old-fashioned dress, long dark hair hiding her face, her shoulders shaking with a grief so profound it seemed to suck the warmth from the air. Elena once tried to call out, but the figure simply faded away, leaving an unnerving, bone-deep cold in her wake. My daughters, Lily and Mia, were no longer safe even in their own beds. Their complaints about being watched escalated. They spoke of a shadow man, a tall, thin silhouette who would stand in their doorway at night, a featureless void watching them sleep. Their toys would be rearranged into unsettling, deliberate patterns. Their laughter, once the lifeblood of our home, was replaced by fearful whispers. The physical assaults grew bolder. What started as the cold brush of unseen fingers became a firm, chilling grip on my shoulder in my study, or the sensation of icy breath on the back of my neck. The whispers were no longer faint. They slithered from the vents and seeped through the floorboards, calling my name in guttural, desperate tones. Sometimes they'd offer fragmented warnings. "Get out, she's still here." Their voices echoed not just through the villa, but carried on the wind from the ancient forest outside. The feeling of being trapped became overwhelming, a psychological prison with real-world locks. Doors would jam shut. The car would refuse to start. Every night, the darkness itself felt alive, a heavy, tangible presence pressing in on us. And even in daylight, I'd catch movement just beyond my vision. A curtain twitching in a sealed room, a dark shape darting across a sunlit doorway. There was no escape. The haunting had become the very air we breathed. The fifth day began with a scream. My daughter's. She swore something had been standing over her bed, its long skeletal fingers tracing patterns on her blanket. That was it. The line had been crossed. The subtle chills and distant whispers had escalated into a direct, terrifying intrusion. There was no more rationalizing, no more telling ourselves it was just an old house settling. We had to get out. We didn't even bother folding clothes. We threw everything into suitcases, a chaotic symphony of zippers and panicked shouts. Every shadow seemed to lengthen. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a footstep right behind us. The air itself felt thick, heavy with a malevolent pressure, as if the house was actively trying to hold us back, to slow our escape. The car engine turning over was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. As we sped down the gravel driveway, a wave of relief washed over me, so potent it was dizzying. But it was short-lived. An inexplicable compulsion forced me to look back, one last time. And there it was. In the master bedroom window, a figure stood motionless. It wasn't just a shadow, it was solid, pale, and gaunt. Its face was a featureless blur, except for the eyes. They were like chips of ice, devoid of life but filled with an ancient, possessive hunger that pinned me to my seat. As we reached the iron gates, a whisper slithered into the car, not through the windows, but directly into our minds. A sound layered with 100 desperate, sorrowful voices, all speaking as one. "Come back, stay forever." My wife gasped. My daughter started crying. We had all heard it. Weeks have passed, but we are not free. The safety of our own home has been compromised. The haunting is quieter now, more insidious. It's in the way doors creak open on windless nights, or the scent of damp earth and decay that sometimes fills a room for no reason. I'll catch a glimpse of a tall, slender shadow in the periphery of my vision, only for it to vanish when I turn. My daughter refuses to sleep with the lights off, claiming she still sees the long fingers in her dreams. The other night, as I was drifting off, I heard it again, right by my ear. That same layered whisper, But this time it said something new. We are here. We escaped the villa, but we didn't escape what was inside it. If you ever book a villa or room, be sure to learn about it first. Maybe there are ghosts there too,